We don't have time to hold on. 3, 2, 1, we're back. Part 2 of your 5 most underrated films.
Yes, sorry. Got distracted reading my notes.
All right.
First
What you got in?
Okay, in part 2, I'm opening strong. Okay, Against All Odds.
Against All Odds.
1984, directed by Taylor Hackford.
Another Costner film?
No.
Oh,
An actor you love,
yes.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. Yes.
At
yes,
his most
yes.
hunky.
Yes.
Now, do you know this movie?
I can't. It rings a bell. Remind me.
Okay. Jeff Bridges is playing a over-the-hill American football player. Plays for the LA Outlaws, the fictional LA Outlaws.
Okay.
Who's trying to get back on the team, okay? But he's a bit past it, okay? But, anyways, some shady elements outside the team, okay? Loan sharks, bookies, quasi-gangsters, tell him, look, there's an opportunity for you to get back this, like, spoiled rich girl from Mexico, all right?
Okay.
The owner's daughter.
I don't know this
Who's
film.
basically this, like free spirit, and she's a bit out of control.
Played
and all
by?
that kind of Rachel Ward, the beautiful
Okay.
Rachel Ward, married to Brian Brown of Cocktail fame. You know, the
Yes.
Doug Coughlin.
Murphy's Law.
And FX Art of Illusion.
Yes, I know that film.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
She's beautiful, and she was in Sharky's
That
Machine.
was so big when we were kids
Yeah,
for some
I know.
reason.
So good. Anyway, so he goes. So he's basically because there's an opportunity to make a bit of kind of fast cash.
Yeah.
He goes to Mexico to bring back this spoiled rich girl. Okay. He goes there. They meet. She's very standoffish. They eventually fall in love. There's this great romance over there, but there are some kind of sinister elements at play in the periphery. She's actually dating a villainous lizard-like James Woods. Okay, at his most.
I mean, the person you love to hate the most.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
at his most deliciously villainous. Okay, I mean, you want to watch this just for him, because he plays it in all the kind of sleaziness and smarminess and disgustingness that you can imagine.
Even worse than his character in Casino.
No, actually, that's worse.
But up there.
Yeah, it's up there. Okay. Anyways, he comes back. Anyway, they fall in love. She's been brought back, so the first half of the movie is kind of set in LA and Mexico, and the second half is back in LA, and they're trying to fight for their love, and he's trying to get back on the football team, but he's being kind of dragged further and further into this sort of peripheral crime world that's associated with sports and sports gambling and so on and so forth. I think it's very, very, very strong. It has a very, very strong love story. It's got great tension, great relationship, great dialogue. Jeff Bridges is his most hunky, by the way.
Okay, you've mentioned that
I'm gonna
once.
say,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. Okay, sorry.
One more time for luck.
Okay.
No, but how did it do when it came out?
It did modest box office again, hence underrated.
So why do you think it didn't do so well?
I think it was difficult to sell it as any
Right.
one film. It's not an action film. It's not a great love story.
I see.
It's not a great revenge film. It's not. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's a bit of a melange of all
yeah,
different
yeah.
elements.
Okay.
So I think it's that. Although, and by the way,
So it's a
Against
toss
All
up.
Odds.
Phil Collins.
Thank you very much.
Okay, very good.
And
I was
by the
gonna
way,
ask,
does
that
it play and play strongly in that movie? All right.
Okay, I'm guessing it does.
With Bridges at his most hunky.
All right.
I just said just because we are
Happy ending in this one? And I don't mean that
no,
kind of
not
happy
so
ending.
much.
Okay.
But a very, very I want to say a very kind of unusual ending.
Okay.
And a still
I
shot.
like it. Twist?
A still. Yes, kind of a
Okay.
twist.
I like a
still
film like that, yeah.
A final shot that's left to interpretation.
Ambiguous.
You're ambiguous.
Okay.
Okay.
Out of 10.
7.5.
All right.
Okay.
Oof, that's your lowest rating so far,
I
isn't
know.
it?
Yeah, I
Or
think
is
it's my
it?
lowest rating so
Anyway,
far, but it's a
fine.
fantastic film.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's Against All Odds.
Okay.
Jeff Bridges. What year did you say?
84.
84. Okay. Let's go.
6 years on. Internal Affairs.
Yes.
Okay, you know this movie?
I know this movie.
Okay. Do you want to give it a little bit away about what you know about this movie
I mean,
before
it's
dig deep?
It's just basically about a bent cop, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and the bent cop is played by Richard Gere,
Mm-hmm.
and he's being investigated by Internal Affairs
Correct,
Department,
correct.
headed by Andy Garcia.
Correct?
Go ahead.
Okay. Richard Gere playing the grand manipulator who is a sergeant in the LAPD.
And very against the grain of his other characters.
100%.
Which I guess, again, is the reason why I'm guessing it didn't do too well.
Well,
It
actually,
did
this was
okay.
part of Richard Gere's comeback.
Right.
Okay. In the same year he did Pretty Woman in this, and he had
Right.
not had a hit for something like 7 years.
Right.
Dating back to essentially Officer and a Gentleman in
Right, right, right,
82
right.
or 83.
Right.
So he had this kind of 7-year hiatus.
By the way,
of-
have you seen Breathless?
Yes.
And
I think that's an underrated film. It's
Exactly.
an adaptation of...
we'll get back to that
Okay.
because it's one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite films.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, interesting.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so he's playing this a bent cop.
Yeah.
Okay, and who's manipulating everyone on the LAPD.
Mm-hmm.
He moonlights as an assassin in his free time.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can get to him because he's very skilled, he's very crafty, he's very manipulative.
Right.
Andy Garcia is the hotshot internal affairs kind of rookie sergeant.
Yes.
Who's investigating him, becomes obsessed with the case.
Prime Andy Garcia.
Prime Andy Garcia. Sporting a non-Andy Garcia haircut, by the way, if you remember.
Hold on a second. Isn't Andy Garcia also in Breathless?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay, you're right. He's not.
Okay.
No. I'm thinking of something else.
Okay.
All right, go on.
But Andy Garcia is sporting for, I think, one of the only times it's very I don't know, like crop top kind of like
Right, buzz cut.
Cadet,
Yes,
you know, like
yes,
in the
yes,
army
yes,
cadet
yes,
haircut.
yes,
okay,
yes.
Richard Gere is, and so he becomes obsessed with the case,
Mm-hmm.
and it puts a strain on his marriage, on his relationships. He almost one of those, the old adage, you almost
Sorry.
have to become.
Forgive me.
Yes,
I remembered. I was thinking about Year of the Dragon with Andy Garcia. Anyway,
that has Mickey Rourke in it.
and Andy Garcia.
Does it?
Doesn't it?
I don't think so.
Yes, it does.
I don't think so. You think of the Untouchables.
I don't know what I'm thinking about. Jesus.
Black
All right.
Rain.
No. I'm telling you, he's in Year of the Dragon or Breathless. One of the two.
Look it up.
Anyway.
I think I'm right. Anyways, so Richard Gere is, he is so dastardly.
Yeah.
He is so evil, and he's so brilliant, and it's a subtle performance. And Richard Gere, he blows hot and cold in this performance. I love Richard Gere, by the way, but he does blow hot and cold. He can overact. He can play characters, poorly. I think
Yes.
sometimes he's not suited for certain
Yes.
roles he takes on. Okay, here, I think this is Richard Gere far and away his most amazing role. Okay, and I think he should have actually been Oscar nominated for a guy who's never been Oscar nominated in his life. Okay, this is the role he should have been Oscar nominated for. But it's a very dark performance. It's a very
It's a dark film.
It's a very dark film.
Yeah.
And great. And Andy Garcia is an extremely intense
It's quite
actor
an
himself.
uncomfortable film,
It
isn't
is.
it? That's why I kind of don't. And maybe I don't know. There's something about it I don't really like to watch it because it's so uncomfortable and there's a lot of tension, but
lot.
like, it's not good tension. I don't know how you describe
Really?
it. Yeah, it's like. It's kind of like sickening. In
But
a way.
bad guys
Which
eventually
is
get their
like one-
comeuppance.
Yeah. It
not-
makes for a great film. And I think you're right. Andy Garcia is in neither Year of the Dragon or Breathless. But anyway, point being,
Yeah.
out of 10, what do you give it?
I give it a 9.
Okay.
I give it a 9.
Wow.
This is
High
one of
up
my
there.
favorite
But I
films.
think a lot of people have seen.
Really?
I don't know. I think it's quite a well-known film.
When you think of when you think of Gere,
Yes.
and you think of his filmography,
Yes.
where does it come? Outside the top 10, maybe? Officer and Gentleman, Pretty Woman, American Gigolo, Primal Fear,
Breathless with Andy
Unfaithful.
Garcia.
Year of the Dragon with Andy Garcia and Richard Gere not.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyways,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it kind of flies under the radar.
Yeah.
But he's fantastic in it.
Fine.
Andy Garcia's fantastic in it.
Yeah.
Great, and also
Who's the female lead?
Nancy Travis.
Nancy
Who was
Travis.
also like in Three Men and a Baby, Three
Yeah,
Men and a Little Lady.
yeah.
and other great sort of late 80s, 90s films. A great, as they say, policier.
It is a
Right?
great policier.
A great policier.
Yeah.
Okay, highly recommended.
Yes.
Doesn't put a foot wrong, this movie.
No.
I think every scene, and Mike Figgis directed it. Great director, by the way. So I'm going to put that in. All
Fine.
right. So we're at 2. 3.
Did you give a mark out of 10?
9.
Yes, you said. Sorry.
Okay.
Forgive me.
1994's Ron Howard masterpiece, The Paper.
The Paper.
You've seen it?
I have seen it. I don't quite remember it.
Okay.
I don't remember it being underrated.
Oh man, it's underrated.
Really?
Ron Howard, who won an Oscar for Beautiful
Listen.
Mind, and who
He's a great director.
He's a great director.
Amazing director. So many films.
so many films.
Yeah.
But this film, which is all set in basically a 12-hour period of a newspaper, a newspaper daily that is trying to
Uncover a story.
uncover a story
Yeah.
about a murder
Yes.
that happened locally in New York. Okay, and the previous day they got a story wrong. So these kind of ragtag, what do you call it, collection of journalists with Michael Keaton helming it. And again, Michael Keaton, a great actor, a frenetic actor, a very, very flamboyant, mercurial actor, playing every bit of Michael Keaton that he can in this, okay? Glenn Close,
Yes.
Robert Duvall. I mean, talk about some like
Heavyweights. Yeah.
Marissa Tomei,
Yes,
Randy
yes,
Quaid.
yes.
There's a cameo from
Big.
Jason
It was-
Alexander.
listen, it did very well when
my
it came
God.
out.
I've
And it
looked
got
at the
great
box office.
reviews.
It got great reviews, but
Yeah.
but it's not referenced enough. And incidentally, why do I like it so much? Such great snappy dialogue.
Yeah.
Such great snappy. You know, Ron
Synonymous
Howard.
with Ron Howard films.
Well, but he's.
I mean, listen.
I don't know who did the screenplay, but
Ron
yeah.
Howard knows how to make. I wouldn't say fast paced, but
Yeah.
a film that, you know, hits the beats, moves forward, keeps you engaged. Every scene matters. There's no chaff. There's no like wasted film time. It like, you know, ticks along perfectly. It's like a perfect timepiece.
100%.
Right? All his films are like that, I
100%,
suggest.
yeah.
And this
yeah.
is no different.
And if you look, 3 years, 3 years later, he did Ransom.
Yes.
Which, you know, it's a completely different kind of
Right.
film, but like high on tension,
Yes.
high on excitement.
Yeah.
But The Paper is a better film. The Paper, anyways, he's really captured the way that I would imagine like
newsroom operates.
Exactly,
Yeah.
beat journalists talk, walk, act.
Yes.
And there's this like odyssey that goes on into the night as Michael Keaton and Randy Quaid are trying to get the story, trying to get a quote from a policeman, trying to print the story before the deadline, before they go, you know, kind of they, you know, like I don't know what it's called when newspapers like, you know, whatever the deadline's called. It's a fantastic film. It's just a fantastic film. It's very funny. It's exciting. It's very well acted.
Again, but that sort of film exists. It exists before The Paper. There are films like that come after The Paper that, like, you know, it's films that basically are shot in real time, if you will, or within 24 hours in this case.
Yeah.
You know, and shot within like certain spaces. It doesn't go beyond the newsroom too much, right? And yeah, it's got to hit that deadline before The Paper goes to press, so on and so forth. Okay.
Okay, you sold on that one?
You know what? I don't think it's that underrated.
Okay.
I don't know what you guys think. It's a good film.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's an amazing film, but it's definitely entertaining.
It's an amazing film. Take my word for it.
Fine.
Watch it.
Out of 10, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it a 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty high.
Okay, next, Bad Influence. Rob Lowe, James Spader. 1990. Directed by Curtis Hanson of LA Confidential fame.
Fine,
Okay.
fine.
This is a not often talked about dark, I want to say, well, again, a dark snapshot of 1980s nightclub subculture.
Right.
Okay. And I presume, you know, Century City yuppieism.
Right.
Okay. Combining together. James Spader plays this nerdy, business executive who is having a crisis of conscience. He's not confident in himself. He's afraid to get married, which is like impending. He's getting pushed around at work, but he's very talented, very smart guy. He bumps into Rob Lowe, okay, playing the best performance of his career, by the way, True Evil, okay? He bumps into him at a bar where Rob Lowe stands up for him in a fight, where James Spader cannot stand up for himself. So James, and he takes him under his wing. Rob Lowe introduces him to this world of like underground nightclubbing, drugs, hot women.
It's basically Crazy Stupid Love, but like with
but
sexual,
yes.
a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and
Actually,
roll.
well done.
And no comedy.
Yeah, it's true. So he takes him deep into
Yeah, if you want a darker Crazy Stupid Love,
well, that's not a bad shout. Okay.
Bad Influence is the one.
And Rob Lowe has spoken about this on a couple of occasions,
Yeah.
saying that it's the one movie that he thinks doesn't get enough acclaim from
Right.
his catalogue.
well, I mean, when you star in such films as Wayne's World, then what do you expect, right? Not to, by the way, I don't mean that sarcastically at all. Wayne's World, one of the greatest films ever made.
True.
You know what I would say the problem with that film is?
Okay.
How did it do when it came out?
Not great. Oh, the sex scandal, the sex tape scandal that he had.
Who, Rob Lowe?
Yeah.
No. I mean, whatever. Sex tape scandals usually help promote
It didn't
a
for-
film.
it didn't for
Not
him
back
at the
then,
time,
maybe.
yeah.
But also bad title. I think a bit
okay.
of a, like, you can think of something a little bit better than Bad Influence.
You think?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just try and sell it. Like,
Fine.
let me try to sell it to audiences. So what starts out as like
Continue.
starts out as this like great sort of dangerous friendship of two guys, right? And he gives him the confidence, and that's
Yes.
handled very effectively.
Yes.
So he teaches him how to like hit on girls.
Yeah.
He introduces him to a world of like drugs
Yes.
and standing up for himself at work and not giving a fuck and all that kind of stuff. So introducing that, and that's done very effectively. And James Spader actually is he's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
He's very, very good usually playing baddies, but here he's playing the kind of like fish out of water. He's being
Yeah.
introduced to this whole world. And then what he doesn't realize is that Rob Lowe is actually a sadistic homicidal maniac, okay? And he doesn't realize what he doesn't realize
that
what
doesn't
he's like
happen in Crazy Stupid Love.
plunged him in. He doesn't realize what he's plunged him into,
Yeah.
right? And has like this nefarious homicidal streak. And as soon as James Spader wants to extricate himself from the friendship, Rob Lowe will not let him do so, and it becomes this battle of
Wits.
and weapons and whatever. And of course now James Spader is now armed with some of the tools that Rob Lowe gave him in knowing how to fight bad guys.
So
Do you
the
understand?
student has become the master.
There you go.
Okay, very good, very good. All right, that sounds good.
So you
man.
like it? Oh, you
Yeah,
like
I
it.
like
By the
that.
way, I think can also be seen on YouTube.
We love that.
Okay, so Bad Influence, 1990. I'm giving it a 7.5 to 8 out of 10.
Okay,
All
very
right.
good, very good.
Okay, my last drop, big names. Okay, the biggest name of his generation, of many generation, but his most unheralded film. Oh, actually, there's two. Actually, I thought of the other one. The other
Yes.
one's definitely going to be your thing. Midnight Run, starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. Okay, I know you're going to say King of Comedy, which is an underrated.
Well, no, I think subsequently
Okay.
it's become very rated.
King of Comedy.
King of
Yeah,
Comedy. I think
okay,
right
all
now
right.
everybody loves it now.
Yeah, I think so.
Like a lot of people even talk about it being Scorsese's best film
Yeah,
now.
okay,
You know
which-
what I mean?
yeah.
So the narrative on the King of Comedy has changed massively. But yes, tell us about
Midnight Run.
Yeah.
Okay, Midnight Run is. I don't know if it's too much of a leap to say it might be my favorite De Niro film of all time, and I watched it like a week ago.
Okay.
Okay, it's first of all road movies.
Okay.
Road movies are like that's a theme unto themselves, right? There are so many
Absolutely.
great road movies,
Yes.
right? Okay.
And they follow certain, the tropes that they have to hit along the way.
Okay.
All right.
And I would
Excuse the pun.
I noticed something in the year 87 to 88. 3 of my favorite films of all time were all road movies.
Go on.
Midnight Run included.
Yes.
One of them is Rain Man, which
Okay.
is not an underrated film. Okay,
No.
which won Best Picture. Okay, which is a great road movie. And the other one was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin, John Candy, which is not an underrated film. But it's a great road movie. But Midnight Run is sort of like sandwiched in between these two.
Right.
And came out, I think, to less fanfare than those two other ones, right? Because it's not an out-and-out comedy like Planes, Trains, and it's not a serious film like Rain Man. So it's in between, but it blends the elements of friendship and comedy and excitement and all the road movie tropes that you mentioned so effectively, and it's so seamless. And the relationship between Charles Grodin,
Yeah,
who's this,
road movies are usually about two people who maybe don't like each other.
correct, yeah.
Not much to begin with, and then along they discover things about themselves and about each other, and before you know it, they're like the besties for life.
Against always like a
Yes.
backdrop of
Although Thelma and Louise is a bit different in
Oh,
that
Thelma and
respect.
Louise,
Maybe the greatest road
Maybe
movie.
the greatest,
because they're best friends to begin with.
Which came out
But
after
usually-
all those other
but
ones.
usually road movies end kind of tragically. Not always, but there is that aspect to them as well.
well.
This
do you-
doesn't- this
do you-
doesn't-
do you- how do you feel about Midnight Run?
Do you know what? I think I need to give it another
Okay.
watch. Again, like you say, it's underrated, but I think maybe at the time it was underrated. Now a lot of people love that
Okay.
film. I mean, to reference Tarantino again, he's a big fan.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a
Okay.
big fan of that film. I think I need to give it another watch because I wasn't taken by it. I don't.
Do you remember,
there's
shall I
something-
explain
you
the
know what? You know what? it's De Niro that puts me off that
Oh,
film.
man, he's so
I don't
good.
think he's that good in it.
He's so good.
Do you know what I mean?
He's so good. I think let me just the plot just for our subscribers out there. The plot is basically Robert De Niro is a fed up bounty hunter
Yeah.
who's trying to get out of the game. Like
Right.
he's fed up of all the kind of the sleaze and like the degradation that the job is like kind
Yeah.
of like that's associated with the job. And he's basically contracted by his the bail bondsman to basically get Charles Grodin, who has basically stolen $15 million from a gangster and given it all to charity, to bring him back for bail. Anyway, he goes, and Charles Grodin plays this kind of like dorky accountant, okay, very annoying,
Yes,
very
yes,
square,
yes,
very
yes,
autistic,
yes,
almost like an
yes.
autistic performance,
Yes,
like.
yes.
And De Niro is this very impatient bounty hunter, so he tracks him down, and he's supposed to bring him back from New York to LA within, I think, a week or a
Yes.
few days. Okay, but along the way, there are
Obstacles.
mobsters who are trying to kill the Charles Grodin character,
Yes.
helmed by Dennis Farina, one of our favorites, right?
Gangster
the late
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dennis Farina, like,
Yeah.
who's so funny in this
Yeah,
film.
yeah. I mean, always funny.
And by the way,
Always funny.
in Get Shorty,
Yeah.
which he played, I think he took the Jimmy Serrano character that he played in Midnight Run, and he had more
Sure.
screen time in Get Shorty, and he dialed it up.
And then subsequently in Snatch.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, right.
Yeah.
So
he
he
basically plays the same
exactly, but he
character.
plays it first in Midnight
Yes,
Run.
yes.
Okay, there's the Yaphet Kotto character,
Yeah.
who plays the FBI agent who wants to bring the Charles Grodin character in himself. Okay, who's played so well and very, very subtly and very humorously by Yaphet Kotto and his people. There's John Ashton, who played Beverly Hills Cop. Taggart.
Yes, yes, yes,
Taggart,
yes, yes.
Who's the rival bounty hunter who's always one step behind the beat.
Yeah.
Who's also trying to get trying to scupper it so that he can bring Charles Grodin in for the reward himself. Okay, he's played perfectly and seamlessly. And then of course there's De Niro and Grodin
Yes,
together,
yes.
who are irritating the hell out of each other, and who then form this kind of like there's like a love story and a friendship
Yeah.
that plays out. And I have to say one thing, which is that the ending is so well written, so well acted, and it's like a perfect kind of what do you call it?
Conclusion. Yes.
to this story.
Yeah. When all the stories come together and intertwine.
So
and yes.
good, so
I
good.
mean, yeah.
Everybody kind of gets their fair share
Yeah.
of what they deserve. I think it's an amazing film. Of course, during this period, De Niro is like the hot shot, big swinging dick.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
and
doing
again,
Scorsese's
he's
film.
cast against type in this film, a role
Yeah.
he chooses. But I'm surprised you say it's his best comedic role. I mean, really? Even over The Irishman? Surprising. How much do you give it out of 10?
I give this. Oh my god! I'm gonna give it a 9. It's one of my favorite. It's my favorite road movie. I don't know. Maybe my favorite road movie. I
Okay.
love Rain Man and Planes Trains.
Okay.
I watched it a week ago,
Okay.
and I laughed hysterically throughout it.
Fine.
Okay, and it's you know what? When you laugh hysterically, but it's also touching. And
Right.
It's moving.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
There's a lot
So
of sentimentality.
That's
to
my
it.
top 5.
Okay.
And
Well
I'm just
done.
gonna. But one.
Oh, here we go.
Just another addendum.
Addendum time.
We in the last episode we talked about a.
Overrated, underrated, overrated.
Underrated.
Overrated, underrated.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm confused
Doesn't really
now
make
by
it-
my own
it doesn't
thing.
really make a
But
difference.
just a film that I don't get,
Yeah.
which is so heralded.
Yeah.
So heralded.
Yes.
Which
Well,
I
that's
watched.
usually overrated.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Which is so heralded, which I didn't get, which won best with the Oscar for best screenplay.
But you know the
original
Oscars don't really mean anything.
I know, but
Okay,
I don't know how
fine.
you feel about this movie. Okay, and I watched it twice.
Go on.
Okay, Get Out.
Oh no.
Oh,
Get Out is a great
I
film.
didn't get it.
It's a great
I didn't
film.
get it.
But like you have to like no, because why?
I don't
What's
know.
there not to get?
Best original screenplay.
It is very original.
400 million at the box office.
Is it not original?
I didn't find it that original. I mean, I don't know. They're talking
And
about this like great kind of horror
because it's sort of like, you know,
quasi-horror,
no,
quasi-
it's these are like neo horror films
Yeah.
where they're almost postmodern
Yeah.
horror films. They're almost self-aware. It's sort of like it's almost like a comedy in its horror, you know. But it also taps into something social. But anyway, let's not get into that. Tell us what you think about Get Out. But a great top 5.
Thank you.
Underrated? Are they? I don't know. He says so. We'll be back.